independent in thought and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
It's about time that it ends. I also think, and I hope the special counsel is as sensitive to it as we are, we do not want to run into the November elections. So you back up from that. This should be over with by September 1st.
But you don't get to make that call, Rudy. You know, you're looking at him saying, hey, we got things going on here. Can you get this done? That's Mueller's call. How much of it is he aware of? 100% of it. But he wants to get it done. Marco Rubio, the Ted Cruz, everybody wants this thing to play itself out. Even the people on the right. I know the president doesn't want to. Right? I get that. You get that. We all get that. I want it to play itself out. But, Chad, it's a witch hunt, according to you. Whether it is or isn't, depends on what side of the aisle. The reality is it's happening. So that's not going to change. It's not. So let it happen. Right? Let's get this done. If the final piece of the puzzle is Trump and an interview with Trump, then you know what? We'll see what happens. Right? Giuliani, and I think that's, part of what Giuliani was trying to do is he's trying to say, hey, look, let's either do this or don't. Let's set up the parameters in this, and it's either get it done or not get it done because you got everything you need. And if I'm his attorney, just like most people out there, what would you be telling your client to do? Don't say a word. Don't say a word.
Honestly, he's got all the information that he needs. The interview will provide nothing in addition to what he already has. So he can write his report. And we've been willing to proffer. In other words, we've been willing to say, this is the answer he will give. And we'll be stuck with it.
So get it done or don't get it done. Pull the people in you need to get it pulled. I understand he's saying that. It takes a while for these things to come together. It's going to happen. Now, does it happen September 1st, October 1st, November 1st, December 1st, January, February? I wouldn't be surprised if we're still sitting here in mid-November, early December, and we're still talking about this. And I wouldn't be surprised if by September 1st this thing is completely wrapped. But it's on Mueller's timeline right now. And that's the reality of it. It's on Mueller's timeline. It'll get done when it gets done. And if I'm the president, boom, I'm not talking. Because you remember, what happens is he's got all the information in front of him. Right? So you don't know what he has. And while you may be saying, I think it was this, when really it was that, they're looking at this point in time. People say, Chad, do you think he did anything? No, I don't think he did anything. Was there collusion? No. I mean, nothing is sacred in the White House, right? I mean, Omarosa apparently taped conversations with her and the president, and some people have heard those conversations, said there's nothing to them. They're just, run-of-the-mill conversations, about the day, and there's not. But the fact that she did, everything gets out. Human beings have this want to tell and talk to people. Stuff comes out. So I think something would have leaked by now, something of that size. Doesn't mean you can't get caught trying to cover up something that you didn't do and turn yourself into something who shouldn't be in trouble, into trouble.
You start to think that the only reason they want this explanation is so that they can come up with some kind of a perjury thing, because Comey has said the opposite of this.
Yeah, so I mean, and what's called a perjury trap is something that we've talked about often.
Yeah, and you said it was Tuesday, it was Wednesday. It's when you're looking, you're looking. I want to let it play itself out because I want to see everything out there. But it still doesn't matter. I think this great middle, as Kasich said, or as I call it, the alt middle. I think we look around and we say to ourselves, we're open-minded enough that we can go, you know what, I want to let it play itself out, and whatever they come up with, I'm going with that. And what's going to be funny is, you remember when Comey came out and said he was going to investigate Hillary? Again, he was going to open the investigation. Man, he was a champion on the right. Then when everything went to hell in a handbasket with him and Trump, he was a pariah. And the left loved him before they hated him. On the other side, conversely, the left right now is let Mueller do his job. If he comes out and he says, yeah, you know what, some bit characters, some ancillary characters in this craziness surrounding Russia in the investigation were caught doing things that really had nothing to do with collusion or obstruction of justice, more about lining their own pocketbooks, and in many cases had nothing to do with Trump at all, because it was before Trump. And we could really find nothing that connects, collusion, Russia, pre-planned, any of this stuff, or perjury to Trump, or anybody that was inside of his cabinet or was now part of the cabinet and part of the administration while they were, campaigning with him and part of his campaign crew. The left will hate him. They'll say, he's a registered Republican. You knew this was it. Because you can't win, right? Like, he's not in an envious position. He's got all the power. He knows whatever side is unhappy is going to tear him apart. Think about that. And the right will go, well, he got it right. He was an honorable person. Look at that. We can be okay. Look at him. Look what he's doing. Wasn't a witch hunt. He found nothing. It's funny. It really, really, really is funny, the way that this thing is going to break down and the way that people will react. And this is something I want everybody to realize. Alt-Middlers, you know exactly what it is. Your minds are open. You understand this. One side is going to be bitterly disappointed, and the other side is going to be very excited. But neither side is going to believe it. So if he's found to be nothing, the left will say it's a lie. They still believe it because that's the only thing that could have happened, that he is president, blah, blah, blah. The right side will be angry if he is found to have done something wrong, or his son or anything like that, and they're going to say it's all a lie and a witch hunt. So you're going to have winners and losers. You're going to have people that are excited. But what is it? How does it play out to you in your life? It really doesn't. I mean, the reality of it is it plays very little in your day-to-day life. You talk about it maybe once in a while. You see it on TV. It's nonstop on the talking head shows if you watch any of those things. But outside of that, it doesn't do a lot for you. It doesn't. You got bigger fish to fry. You got kids. You got a mortgage, right? You got those things going on. You got soccer practice. You got cello practice. You got kids going back to school. You're starting a small business. You're trying to expand your business. You're going back to school yourself. You got all of these things going on. So what I think, as I've talked to a lot of people, what they want is they just want a conclusion. They want cliff notes of what's going to happen. And you'll get it here. I'm not going to sit here and talk about the ancillary characters that really don't mean anything. It's garnish, right? You get that garnish on your food and you throw it away because you're not going to eat that stuff. All I care about is the steak. I don't need little trees around it, any of that stuff. Put on the plate what I'm going to eat. I don't need the rest of it. And we'll do that here. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet along with us. Last night, some primaries going on. One election that is too close to call, at least at this point in time, in Ohio, a place where Trump, a very red place that Trump actually did very well in. You had an evening of battling, and that battling is still not going on.
The nail-biter letting both sides claim a victory of sorts. The Democrat Danny O'Connor did make up huge ground in this area that had been a Republican stronghold for decades. The last Republican member of Congress won this Ohio district by over 30 points in 2016. President Trump won by double digits, too.
Yeah. And it's really weird the way they do it here in Ohio. So what's going to happen? Danny O'Connor's a Democrat. Balderson is a Republican. Whoever wins this will serve out the term till November, and then these two are going to battle it out again come November. And it looks like, at least at this moment, it could be the Republicans. But the reality is this should be a bit of a wake-up call when it comes to, the Republicans and what they can expect, the dogfight that they can expect. Can you even say that anymore? I feel like you say that, it's like, oh, it sounds awful now, right? Dogfight just sounds, ugh. But remember, right? Dogfighting isn't just dogfighting like we think with the Michael Vick. What do they call the airplanes? Dogfights in the sky. So I'm just saying. So when they pitch that, sometimes anymore you say something like, oh, is that politically incorrect? Because it feels politically incorrect.
We expect a close race, but at the end of the day, to have it be close ultimately is a big sign of momentum going into November.
Yeah, and the momentum's there, but how big is that momentum going to be? Because between now and I would say November, that's somewhat of an eternity, as we all know. So while I think there's a chance to have some serious momentum going in for them, the realities are you don't know. Because you look at the news and you think that every Republican is in danger. But what you don't see is a lot of Republicans are much safer than the news is allowing you to really understand. And the other thing is, and I'm by news, I mean, not even news, talking head shows. And the other thing is there are a lot of Democrats that themselves are in danger. They've got to defend a lot of seats, but it's not without the realm of possibility that we may see something big and blue coming in November.
The closeness of this race signals real troubles for Republicans. This is a district that is about as solidly Republican as they come. President Trump won it by 11 points in 2016. The Republican incumbent last time around actually won by more than 35 points. So the fact that this is a virtual tie is a big sign of difficulty ahead for Republicans.
It might be. But how is it going to play out overall? We're still a long way away from there. Even though it goes quick, it is somewhat of an eternity in the political world. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. My Pillow is amazing. Last night, an amazing thunderstorm rolled through. I was Elliot Light. It was amazing. I had my travel My Pillow with me, and it was incredible. The night's sleep that I get on My Pillow is so awesome. Nothing has changed, right? I haven't changed anything. I didn't sleep. I used to be in bed for 6 or 7 hours, but I'd be awake for most of the time. Now I'm in bed for 5-6 hours, and I'm sleeping for so much longer than I ever have, and it is incredible. 100% machine washable and dryable is My Pillow, made in the USA, backed by a 10-year warranty. And right now they've got an amazing offer for you. Check this out. It's a My Pillow 4-pack, 50% off, 2 premium pillows, 2 Go Anywhere pillows, 4 My Pillows. Right there, 4 My Pillows, 50% off. Call 800-983-4975 or go to mypillow.com. Use the promo code Chad. Get a better night's rest. Try the world's most comfortable pillow. Mypillow.com, code Benson, or 800-983-4975. You will not be disappointed. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. 323-538-2423. We got your urban word straight ahead, and they're doing something a little different this year at the Oscars. What is it? Find out in a sec. Chad Benson Show.
Feel free to punk this punk rocker any time of the day or night. Reach Chad on Twitter at Chad Benson Show and on Instagram at Chad Benson Show. And oh yeah, the Chad Benson Show on Facebook too. Punk that.
This is a big moment in the history of the country. I think this is the most significant midterm election in American history. And we're heading into a presidential election, which is the most significant since the election of 1864, when the question that was really on the ballot was whether we were going to continue to be one country, whether we would prevail in the Civil War. So this is a big moment.
Oh, wow. Just a reach there, right there? Just a reach, Steve Schmidt, just a Republican. This is the biggest election in the history of election. But isn't that the way it is? Like, when do you say it's not a big election, right? It's like every election is big. This one for Trump is big. It is. I mean, you know, the reality of them taking the House and the Senate both isn't as big as maybe some people think, but it's not out of the question realm of possibility. And it would be a situation where you'd have Democrats who would have subpoena power. They can clog stuff up. They can make his next 2 years unbearable. It is big. But when you say it's the biggest since, slow your roll there. Slow your roll. You're like a football coach, right? You're Nick Saban of the powerhouse Alabama, and you're playing like AT&T, DeVry Tech, and you're like, this is the biggest game you guys have ever played. You know you're going to roll them, right? But you have to say it's the biggest game ever because that's what you do when you're on TV. You make it seem like it's the most important thing ever. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter every single day at this time. We break it down for you simply like it's hat. We call this our urban word of the day.
It's time for the urban word of the day, fam.
What? Right now?
Time to get a little more hip on the streets.
I can't understand a word you're saying.
Urban word of the day.
We have a lot of millennials around here, and I was talking to one the other day, and she was typing something, and I'm like, what does IRL mean? I said, that's the Indy Racing League. She says, no, it's in real life. I said, oh, so it's not the Indy Racing League, which it actually is. But for the kids, when you see the text on the phone, IRL, parents and peeps, it means in real life. See, we start to put this stuff together. You can start puzzling everything together, and you can start seeing what those kids are texting, getting the emojis and the small little things that they're doing. You go, ha ha, I'm getting it now, kids. IRL, in real life, your urban word of the day.
Thank you for saying that in dated urban slang so that I'll understand you. That there was the urban word of the day. We damn stretched your cranium.
It's long been a complaint that many of the highest-grossing movies like Star Wars or The Avengers,
let's talk about this plan of yours,
get a lot of eyeballs, but not a lot of Oscars love. That may change. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences announcing they've decided to add a new category for, quote, outstanding achievement in popular film. What that means exactly, we don't know yet, but we will see it next year. Also, they're cutting the show to just 3 hours by presenting some of the less popular categories during commercial breaks. The moves are seen as an attempt to boost the ratings, which this year hit an all-time low.
Yeah, and they have a popular category. It's called the MTV Movie Awards. I mean, look, every year we always joke about it. I watch these things. I don't recognize I've seen maybe the trailer, but I haven't seen any of these movies. A lot of times, very few times do people actually see a lot of these movies. They're art house movies. They're actor movies. But, it's about time, right? You're trying to do something for the people, and the people like popular. That's the reality of it all. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Trump voter versus Trump voter. Huh? Straight ahead, Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
What up, party people? A lot of text yesterday. We were talking about open borders. We had Jeffrey Myron on from the Cato Institute, and it was funny because people, you got to listen to all. You got to read and listen to everything. As you talk about open borders, everybody thinks, oh, my God, you should let everybody in the world. And no, we're talking about, having opportunities to travel amongst freely. And I threw out there on a few occasions with him about the opportunity of, hey, Canada, Mexico, United States, do something like Europe where we travel amongst each other freely to work. And people are like, oh, they go off. And I'm just like, you're not understanding. They're like, look at Europe. It's a mess right now. First of all, Europe is not as messy as everybody like to think it is. Secondly, the issues of the refugees have nothing to do with Europe. Those aren't other European countries. Those are countries like Syria and some African nations where there is civil war and there is strife and people are escaping horrific conditions. It is not the same. But I understand why people freak out to a certain extent. Because you've been conditioned over and over again that this is horrible, this is bad. The way I look at it is we got to fix immigration. We got a nightmare that neither side really wants to solve, and they're making it worse. Trump didn't help by doing the separation thing at the border, which I didn't think was a good idea. And on the other side of things, we've got the Democrats who have made this a huge issue. But the reality is they've ignored the problem, too, courting many people to come here, particularly from south of the border, in hopes that one day they'll have an opportunity to get some sort of amnesty or citizenship, over a certain amount of time where they will most likely end up being Democratic voters. So it's a nightmare that they're happy continuing to ignore. So why not think outside the box every once in a while? Because us doing the same thing over and over again, it ain't fixing anything. That's insanity. Woo! We don't want to do that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. I got some people that tweeted us about the whole, well, this here thing called, I guess you'd call, I mean, you know, we had Watergate. Is this Russiagate? Is that what this is? You know, people saying, you know, indictments and guilty pleas equal nothing. Major occurrences didn't happen in Watergate. Whitewater, Iran-Contra the first year. We know how those things turned out. Well, slow your roll. This is what's coming out of this so far. And there have been people that have pled guilty. There have been people that are on trial, like Manafort. But are they on trial for Russia? Or are they in trial for doing things like money laundering or purging themselves, though, and purging themselves over things that had nothing to do with this? That's why I said let it play itself out, and it's going to play itself out. You can text the program 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. So yesterday, I believe it was CNN, it might have been Fox. I'm not quite sure. I don't. Like I said, I don't watch the talking head shows much. I don't. I have one of them on in the background. That is until tomorrow when the PGA Championship comes on, and that's all that'll be on my TV. Oh, Chad, you should. Usually I watch Gunsmoke because I don't need to see people screaming at each other over stuff. There's no reason for that. But they had this group of people, and it was Trump voter and Trump voter. And some Trump voters thrilled by Trump and what he's done. Other Trump voters ashamed of what he's done, ashamed for their vote. And it was a very interesting thing. You know, it's interesting to see how people are handling how they voted for Trump and the way they interact with one another, which is that too was surprising.
My mind and the way I look at him now, I think he's a monster. I think he's a bigot. I think that he's doing a lot of things to ruin people's lives. I don't think that I think that he's taking this country in the wrong direction, and it's a terrifying time for me.
Was there a moment that turned you?
It was when I heard about what was going on the southern border. The family separation and the children in cages.
Well, the children in cages, everybody slow the roll. I will say this. Many of those things were built before Trump. He had the zero tolerance policy, meaning you come here and immediately it happens. Under Obama, what happens is after 20 days in federal custody, you no longer can have your children. That wasn't something that somebody made up as far as like a politician said, yeah, we'll just do it this way. Nope. The judges got involved and said, this is what it is. After 20 days, they have to be out of federal custody. So they were separated from their families after 20 days. Trump said, no, we're doing it from day one. But I like how the guy's, he's a monster. He's a monster now? Like, why is he a monster now? Like, you didn't... Because Trump has been, if anything, he's been consistently inconsistent with some things, you know, where he flip-flops and says stuff. But as far as his attitudes and like, people were calling him a bigot and a racist and a monster for a long time. But you still voted for him. To me, I find that to be very, very, very interesting. And the other thing is, you know, one thing about Trump that, you know, we got some of it with Obama, a good portion of it, where the left loved him, the right hated him. There wasn't a lot of, you know, gray in the middle. It was black and white, and that was pretty much about it. Trump, I think even to a larger degree, the right loves him or they stand up for him. There's some that don't. The left can't stand him. They hate him. But there is very little in the middle. Very little. It's you see him one way or another. And for a lot of people, they can't look and say, hey, you know what? He's doing a good job here. And here I'm not really thrilled by. It's him as a human being. That's what's like for Obama. I saw, there were some people out there who didn't like him, black president. You can say what you want, but there were some people, trust me, some people still text me and they say stuff and I'm like, oh my God, or tweet at me. And I'm like, but for a lot of people, it was just his policies that were very divisive as far as they were concerned, in the right and left. For Trump, it's him as a human being in a lot of ways, not even so much as policies. Obviously, the separation of children was one of those things, but just him as a person is the divisive part.
This is the problem with what the president is doing. He's able to divide us on these issues where we're now fighting amongst ourselves. You look at Charlottesville, you look at the separation of the families on the border, you just look at the tweeting. I've never seen an individual who is so good at connecting with sort of average people that has no ability to really communicate or control the way he communicates.
But not all of that is because of Trump. Some of it's because of the way that people react, right? Some of it is the way that you can be divided all day, but it's how do you let it affect you? And for Trump, his effect on both sides is massive. His base is willing to stand and defend, and the left is willing to resist and attack. And this gap that we have right now is definitely much bigger than it's been in a long time. And a lot of that is also one of those things where we used to argue over politicians and policies, right? I don't like that guy's policy. I don't like that lady's policy. Now, what we do is the way that we argue is you're stupid, you're a bigot, you're this, you're that. And we argue amongst each other, at each other. And not really over the policies or the person themselves. And that I find very interesting when you look at all of this stuff and the way that these Trump supporters right here, again, these were all Trump voters. These aren't people that we're going to find some that hate Trump. And these were people that all went to the ballot and they voted for Trump. And some are blaming him, calling him a monster, saying they regret it. Other people, they still stand pat.
I think it's disingenuous to say that President Trump is wholly responsible for the bifurcation that we see across party lines right now.
But is he helping it?
I don't think that necessarily some of the things that he says could be said in a more polished manner.
And that has been one of my biggest issues with Trump is when things happen. Charlottesville, as we come up on the anniversary of that, perfect example. I thought he could have and should have come out in a stronger way. But what he should have done, and this is what he often does, is he'll come out and say something, and you're like, okay, good, you're putting your foot down. But then when he puts his foot down, then he'll blame the other side for something. He'll say, violence has no place in our politics. Violence has no place, whatever it is. Racism doesn't have any place in any of this. And then he'll go, but you know what? Those other people came with sticks and knives, and they started the fight. And that right there is the thing that frustrates a lot of people I talk to who like Trump, who love Trump. He comes out and it's not strong enough, and then when it even is strong, he'll take those 3 steps forward, and you're like, okay, good, and then he takes 2 steps back, and you're like, you had a chance. You had a chance. You did.
We have a lot of, really, I have to be crass about it, idiots who voted for him, including myself at one time.
I take great offense. I'm not an idiot. It's a wise decision that people voted. It was a wise decision for Michiganders, for Wisconsinites, for Pennsylvanians, for working Americans who were tired of their jobs being taken away, shipped overseas, or taken by illegals.
I absolutely love the fact that he said Michiganders. I think that was pretty cool. Some people still love it, but there are people out there who regret doing it, regret voting. And where the left is missing out and continue to miss, you catch more flies with honey. You ask him, you catch more flies with honey. Is you have a chance to get some people that are independent. You have a chance to get some disgruntled Republicans who aren't happy with the direction that Trump has taken the Republican Party or the country. You have a chance to do that. And instead of saying, hey, Republicans, guess what? You're unhappy with Trump. You're unhappy with where your party's going. Come over here. It may only be for a finite time. We're not going to agree on everything, but you have a chance to right a wrong in your mind and join us in November, and let's put us back on the path. And instead, they insult them, call them bigots, call it hate mongers. And then what happens is they dig in more. And all of us have done it. All of us have been wrong in some sort of situation, and we get into an argument with somebody, and we kind of realize maybe we're wrong. And what happens then? You dig in harder because the person's insulting you to the point where it stops being about the action that was done, and it starts to become personal. And when that happens, all bets are off. We'll see what happens. November's going to be very interesting, and I want to see if there is going to be a blue wave. Because it will be a few years of hell, of hearings, subpoenas, impeachment maybe. It is going to be very, very interesting. And make no bones about it, Trump is on the ballot in November. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. CarShield is absolutely amazing as things become more and more expensive. And things are more and more expensive. Case in point, as rates go up, it gets more expensive to borrow money. More expensive to borrow money means if you go to buy a new car, you're going to be paying more. So why not do something, because you like your car, that will protect your car in the case of a what if, because that warranty you used to have on your car, it's no longer there. It's expired. Get extended vehicle protection from CarShield like I did. You will be happy you did. Let's just say something happens to your car. You need a new engine. They'll take care of it. Boom. Transmission. What? Yeah. Sensors in your car, which can cost up to $1,000. And everything now is, well, it's all computerized. Oh, man, that's what CarShield is about. They make the cost to cover repairs and just all of this stuff so easy. 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car while your car's in the shop. And speaking of the shop is you choose the shop. They get you choose the shop. They tell you we're going to pay them directly. So you don't have to front any money. What? I know, right? Save yourself the headache and the heartache. Get yourself extended vehicle protection like I did. Call 800-CAR-6100. That's 800-CAR-6100. Mention code Benson, saves you 10%. That's carshield.com. Code Benson saves you 10%. You're going to love it. They got all kinds of plans. Check it out for yourself. A deductible may apply. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. ChadBenson. It's the Chad Benson Show.
A bird in the hand is worth 140 on Twitter, so tweet your beak off at Chad Benson Show Twitter. And if instant gratification is your thing, hit Chad up on Instagram at Chad Benson. Your bird will thank you.
Earlier this week, Angelina Jolie filed court documents alleging Brad Pitt had pretty much stiffed her on child support since they split almost 2 years ago. The exact words were that Pitt, quote, has paid no meaningful child support since separation. Now, in his own filing, Pitt paints a very different picture, saying not only has he paid $1.3 million in bills for the kids since the split, he also loaned Jolie $8 million to help her buy a house. The filing accuses Jolie and her lawyers of attempting to manipulate media coverage.
It is interesting, right? I mean, last week we've got what's her name, Britney Spears and K-Fed are fighting over money. He wants more money. Then you had these reports coming out that a basketball star had to pay Blake Griffin some $200,000 a month, $230,000, which ended up not being true. And I was looking, and I'm like, okay, well, you know what? You're a father, so you need to be involved, and you need to pay. That's an absolute must. How much do you pay, though? Right? You guys have several kids together, and and it's weird because he's got their kids are, because I believe they've got 2 or 4 together. You got Shiloh, Maddox, Zahara, Vivian, Pax, and Knox, and I think like 4 of them are adopted or something. So it's an interesting thing. But I was looking; she's worth $160 million. He's worth $240 million. It's how much do you pay, right? I mean, at some point in time, like how much do you pay? He needs to pay. Don't get me wrong, especially if he's not, if it's not 50-50 and they have, 50-50 custody and this kind of thing. You're flying all over the world. You're doing movies. They're flying with you and stuff like that. But what do you pay? And did he really loan her $8 million? I mean, that's pretty nice. He could loan me $8 million and I would buy a house. I mean, I think we're all good with that. I might even pay him back. I don't know. If not, I'll give him a hug and I'll talk about how great his movies are. I'm like, your movies are great, dude. Amazing. But I do think if he's like, well, this is wrong, they're both worth a lot. But as a father, you need to participate and you need to make sure you handle your business. That is vitally important. How much, though, Because the way she made it sound is like, this is it. I don't got any food to feed these kids. And I'm like, what'd you do with your money? Because you may be more bankable than him. So I'm just curious where your money's at. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. A lot of people are tweeting on in. You can text the program as well. I've got a podcast. You can grab that at TuneIn Radio app. Where other good podcasts are available, kids? Absolutely. And you can like us on Facebook. That's old school. By the way, did you see Twitter said, hey, we're not going to get rid of Alex Jones? We're going to let the people decide. And, of course, people freaked out. No, you got to get rid of Alex. And it's like, no, that's what I've been saying. Let the people decide. If you want to put a disclaimer on some of his stuff, but let the people decide. And it's funny because the people that are all yelling and screaming are people that don't know anything about Alex Jones and probably have never read anything or saw any of his stuff. They just scream and yell. That's what we do. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
What is up, party people? Hope you're doing well on this most festive day. A lot of stuff. We're trying to get it all together. We're trying to put it inside this giant bucket. Last night, there was. And, well, some primaries and an election ran. Too close to call. Both sides jumping up and down, very excited about what they think they have got, which they believe that they have won, particularly in Ohio. Going to be close. Right now, it's going to be close. You have Balderson, the Republican, eking out a victory over Danny O'Connor. And when you consider how big the victories have been in a very solid red area, that is eye-opening to say the least.
This should never have been a contest. This is the kind of seat that is as safe a territory as Republicans will ever see. A seat that for all but 2 of the last 75 years has had a Republican sitting safely there. It just shouldn't be on the map. And the fact that it was is something that Democrats take away. Republicans literally can't afford to have seats this close. They can't afford it financially. They can't afford it psychologically.
No. That right there is very true. As we head into November, you take a step back and you look and you say, is it going to be like this all around? But one thing that you don't hear about is the other side of things, because there are Republicans that will be taking on Democrats that are very vulnerable as well. So while they may lose some, are they going to gain elsewhere? And that's something that I think a lot of people forget, because we only think that it is the Republicans that stand to lose anything, and that's not true. Although when you look at this, is it going to be bigger than people think? Or is it going to be smaller? We don't know. What we do know is it's coming, and the Republicans better take notice because this could be a huge issue, not only because of how close things are, but he said something right there that was because of the cost. Remember, you're in power, right? So you got everything going for you. Did anybody ever see, was it, I'm trying to think, I think it was part 3. Was that Mr. T? I think it was part 3 of Rocky. Rocky wasn't hungry when he fought Mr. T the first time, right? He thought, I'd knocked out all these guys in a row. I'm the world champ. I'm doing all this stuff. He'd lost his hunger. This guy was motivated. He wanted it. He was all of those things. It's the same thing I see with the Democrats. For whatever reason, resistance, all of these things, they're motivated. And when you don't have the power, right, you're sitting on top of the mountain, people are trying to get to that top of the mountain. They're working harder to get to the top of the mountain. And the Republicans right now are up there. And I think sometimes, like anything else, you could take a little bit of it for granted, as if this is just the way it's going to go. But if you look back, one of the other things that we've been talking about is the fact that we like to even things out. right? We like to say, hey, we're going to give you guys the power and see what you do. And then we go, you know what, we're going to check you. And if you go back and you look at many midterm elections, we have checked presidents. But for this president, it would be something completely different. And come November, there could be some serious issues.
The closeness of this race signals real troubles for Republicans. This is a district that is about as solidly Republican as they come. President Trump won it by 11 points in 2016. The Republican incumbent last time around actually won by more than 35 points. So the fact that this is a virtual tie is a big sign of difficulty ahead for Republicans.
Yeah, could be. Now, in saying that, he gets a second nominee through. The economy stays strong, and people have smiles on their faces. He gets something worked out with maybe North Korea, something like that. The Mueller investigation and probe comes back, and there's nothing there. And all of a sudden, these clouds start to lift, and we are sitting in a situation where we look at all of those things. And we're just getting a second nomination through in the Supreme Court. And the Mueller investigation didn't have anything. The economy's doing really well. So is my 401k. I got a smile on my face. He's added jobs. And we may step in there for a lot of people and say, you know what? I'm not going to do anything. Because the train's moving forward. It's moving fast. Why would I want to take the chance of derailing it at this moment in time? So if I'm the Republicans, I'm like, let's focus on the good, all right? Because there's only so much you can focus on. You've got the economy. We're still a nation that votes with our pocketbook, whether people want to. I love when people get mad at me. All you care about is money. I'm telling you something that's the truth. That has nothing to do with. I'm one of 360 million people, and you want to shoot the messenger. But the reality is we vote with our pocketbook. And if things are motoring along, and he comes out of this probe, if it gets done by then, this investigation, and there is no there, he gets his second nominee onto the bench. You know, if you're the Republicans, you stand there and you tout the jobs, you tout the economy, you tout the fact that he's got another nomination through and there's more to come potentially. You tout the fact that his stuff is starting. You do all that you can to tell your side of the story the way you want it told. And then preface that with, do you want to stop that? Because what they're saying is they're going to roll back the tax cut. What they're saying is they're going to get rid of this. What they're saying is they're going to resist for two years, and you're going to have more gridlock. Then all of a sudden, you start touting that and get people to think. Because he is on the ballot. Make no bones about it. He is on the ballot. And it's going to be very interesting to see how things go. But I will tell you this. What's going to hurt him is slowdown in the economy, potential fears of inflation, potential fears of a recession. If Mueller comes back, maybe not with him, but something with his son or something like that, or with him, I mean, all of these things will play. And as we know, 3+ months, 4 months, that's an eternity in politics. And the Mueller investigation is going on, and it looks like the last of the piece of the puzzle that they'll fit together, at least, is the interview with Trump and Mueller.
We have now given him an answer. He obviously he should take a few days to consider it, but we should get this resolved. If there's going to be an interview, let's have it. If there's not going to be an interview, then let him write his report.
There you go. If there's going to be one, let's do it. If you're, and we look, any good lawyer in this situation is telling their client, don't go anywhere near it. Don't go anywhere near it. Don't put yourself in a position. And if we want to know what the questions are. I mean, you're asking for all of these things. But I'm not letting him speak. I mean, come Come on. I'm not letting him speak at all. And we have the November elections coming up, the midterms. And Mueller's doing it on Mueller time. And I think Mueller should get it right, right? Measure twice, cut once. Get it right. But they want this thing done for obvious reasons.
It's about time that it ends. I also think, and I hope the special counsel is as sensitive to it as we are, we do not want to run into the November elections. So you back up from that. This should be over with by September 1st.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I don't know if it should be over by September 1st. I don't think it's going to be over as quick as people think. I really, really don't. I have a feeling it will. I do think there's a potential it could be done before November, but I think for all intents and purposes, this thing's going to run its course maybe till the end of the year. And how does that play? The economy's good. It gets a second nomination through all of those things, and the Republicans are touting all those things, but that's still hanging out over there. How does that play in the elections? That's something that is also going to be very interesting.
Honestly, he's got all the information that he needs. The interview will provide nothing in addition to what he already has.
Will it? Because the interview in and itself, what they're talking about is he's already interviewed all these people. He might have a few more, and then it will be Trump. And he's going to know what everybody else has said, right? He's going to have everybody's stories. So if he sits down with Trump, what's the potential?
You start to think that the only reason they want this explanation is so that they can come up with some kind of a perjury thing, because Comey has said the opposite of this.
Yeah, so I mean, and what's called a perjury trap is something that we've talked about often.
Yeah. Is that what they're looking for at this point in time? If there's no there, and you're asking a bunch of people to tell the truth, and they're telling the truth as they remember it, and it doesn't jive up or add up, and you say something, you lied. It to me, let it play itself out. Be done with it. So you're not going to interview. Let the chips fall where they may, and if you've got nothing to hide, let there nothing to be hide out there. And I've said, and I continue to say it, to me, it's still his son is the key here, because I think he'll go to the mat for Don Jr., and that is something that will be interesting to see. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. AMAC partnered with them. They're really cool. Association of Mature American Citizens. They go out there, and on your behalf, they advocate for things like comprehensive immigration reform. That'd be good, right? You know, it's common sense immigration reform. How about that? Anyone? Raise your hand. How about repealing and replacing Obamacare, Social Security reform, things like that, for the values that you share. And what they're doing with me is great. We talked about it, and they're giving away a year membership free. It doesn't cost you a dime. You can join for free. Besides advocating on your behalf that so many things are important to you, they also go out there and give you benefits, member benefits like 40% off movie theater tickets, Disneyland, Disney World, SeaWorld, Legoland, all those things, 40% off there. Travel discounts, hotel and rental car discounts, retail and restaurant discounts, you name it, they've got it. And it doesn't cost you a dime. That's it. Doesn't cost you anything. It's a year membership free, no tricks, no gimmicks, no credit card required. All you have to do is be older than 50, and then you go to amac.us/Chad. That's amac.us/Chad, or you can call them on the old cellular phone, 888-355-1668. That's 888-355-1668, or online at amac.us/Chad. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter, ChadBenson. Twitter is doing some. We'll touch on that. And Uber and Lyft got some news from New York City today. Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
City Council voting this afternoon on a package of bills that includes a one-year moratorium on new licenses for for-hire vehicles, as well as the possibility of setting up minimum driver pay rates and minimum fares. Backers of the proposal say yellow cabs here in the city and other driving services are suffering, with Uber cars flooding the streets. They also say it's increased traffic congestion. Opponents, however, say Uber and Lyft provide needed services to neighborhoods outside of Manhattan that are poorly served by yellow cabs.
Look, the reality is the announcement that came today, basically a year moratorium on Uber and Lyft drivers, new Uber and Lyft drivers, is taxis don't want competition. What has Uber and Lyft done? They've come into cities and they've given taxi cabs who have had monopoly competition. And some places across the country, taxis are a dime a dozen. But the reality is in places like New York and London and other places, it costs a ton of money to buy those medallions and become a taxi cab driver, an owner, if you will. And they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. And in some places, they spend upwards near $1 million to get those things. And now they're virtually worthless because there's competition. Competition's great. It's a wonderful thing. There's nothing wrong with it. They don't want it. Of course they don't want it. God, it's why? And many of you, well, they always like to point out, well, this person over here, he had to deal with it. He had an issue and this person's bad, as if everybody who drives a taxi is an angel. Secondly, how many of you have taken a taxi from an airport to a hotel and then you're like, hey, how much is it to get back to the, it's such and such dollars to tell you. And then you take an Uber and it's $20 less. I did that in Dallas. It was ridiculous. But I couldn't get an Uber because they didn't allow the Uber to come in. And same thing, producer Anthony and I were in Sacramento and we were going to use an Uber. And they're like, oh, yeah, we don't allow Ubers to come in here. We're like, what? Yeah, you got to actually go outside. And we had to schlep like a mile to get to a place where Uber drivers could pick us up and they can drop you off. But it is a joke because they don't want competition. It clogs the streets. Stop it. You don't like competition. Uber and Lyft have come in and they've given you competition. And their thing is, well, we don't know who's driving those cars. And it's your car. You should be allowed to schlep people around if you want to. It's the same way that people don't like Airbnb. Hotels don't like it. Why? Because people Airbnb it. It's cheaper. You can stay in somebody's house. It's way cheaper. We went out to the national convention. We Airbnb'd it. Went to the Republican one down in Cleveland. Way cheaper than staying in a hotel. Of course they don't like it. Why? Because wouldn't it be great to come in and lobby people? Is there any way you can make sure that there's no competition for me? That'd be fantastic. Yeah, that'd be great. They don't like it because of the competition. It's hurting their business. It's not fair to us. No, that's what's great about competition. It gives people choice. People will choose, and we see, what do they choose? They choose the cheaper choice, unless they absolutely have to. Take something else. They take the cheapest choice. You don't like it. Figure out a way to beat them. And they have. We'll go to the politicians and we'll cry and whine and we'll have it changed. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. You got Republicans and Republicans. You got Trump voters and Trump voters. And they're all on a panel. They're all talking. Some of them happy with Trump. Others of them not so happy with Trump after voting for him. We'll talk about that straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is a big moment in the history of the country. I think this is the most significant midterm election in American history. And we're heading into a presidential election, which is the most significant since the election of 1864, when the question that was really on the ballot was whether we were going to continue to be one country, whether we would prevail in the Civil War. So this is a big moment.
little hyperbole there. It's the biggest moment in the history of biggest moments, in the history of the biggest thing in the history of moments. This is never getting any bigger. I think in his presidency, from all that has happened up until now, the midterms are going to be huge because I do believe it will decide which way his presidency goes. Because Democrats winning, sending a message to the president is going to feel that they're essentially given, hey, you go get this guy kind of message is the way they're going to take it. And they will spend 2 years making his life hell if they can't get him out. They will do everything they can, which for Trump will give him a great out, saying, look, I came here. The first year and a half, 2 years, it was rolling. Then you sent a message that maybe you didn't like what I was doing, and then, boom, you sent them here, and I've spent the last 2 years defending myself 24/7 with stuff that had nothing to do with being president, is the way he'll come at it. They're already building in. And then people will go, oh, yeah, he's right. Things were going okay, and then we sent you guys there, and instead of trying to work with him, or you spent your entire time investigating him and trying to impeach him and do everything, and nothing got done, which may give him another opportunity to go, I want 4 more years. I want to redo, and this time let's try it this way. But if you're in politics, like that's what you do, right? Like how do you spin stuff? How do I spin it from point A to point B? How do I take it from here to here? How do I look? It's crazy because if you're in politics, if you're in the politics, you've got to find out how you can spin something and make a bad situation. Where can I find some silver lining? And the other side of things, we look at things, and if you say anything that's positive, we try to find the negative in it. Oh, God. The world that we live in. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. So, a very interesting panel. Again, it's CNN, so you take it for a grain of salt for what it is. But I found this to be very interesting. Because they brought Trump voters together. People who voted for Trump. Some of them ecstatic, others apologetic and regretful. But I think that's anybody, because I had friends who voted for Obama, and they're like, I wasn't happy with the way things turned out. But we've had that before. But the difference is the way that they're regretful, the anger they have. You know, one of my good buddies who is right-leaning, he voted for Obama. He wasn't happy with what the Republicans did, the war, the whole 9 yards. And then he was like, I voted for Obama, and I wasn't thrilled by it. That was it. Like, there wasn't any, I need to apologize. He's a monster. He's an idiot. But like everything else, there is no in the middle with Trump. It's you love him, you hate him, you resist him, you defend him. There is no, He evokes that kind of emotion from people.
My mind and the way I look at him now, I think he's a monster. I think he's a bigot. I think that he's doing a lot of things to ruin people's lives. I don't think that I think that he's taking this country in the wrong direction, and it's a terrifying time for me.
Was there a moment that turned you?
It was when I heard about what was going on the southern border. The family separation and the children in cages.
He's a monster. Think that. He's a monster. For some people, they look at him like that. What he's doing was wrong. They didn't know that Obama didn't like that. He tried to figure out a way to get around that. The kids were separated during Obama, too. Now, it was different because it wasn't immediate. But nobody cared. Because when you're going to paint a picture of something, you've got to have the right moment to paint that right picture. Like taking a picture, right? You take a picture a moment too early or a moment too late, and you may miss that moment. For Obama, the press didn't push that hard on it because nobody really cared. Trump, this is his thing. He is taking on immigration, the wall, all of this stuff. That's his thing. And so people see this and they blame it all on him. And I will say this, I lay at the feet of the entire debacle because it has become a debacle. We still have kids that are separated. We have parents that have been deported. It is kind of a mess. Now, we can lay blame at, you brought the kids here. You can do all. But the reality is there are some people that saw that and it changed them. That moment, boom. Sorry. That moment changed for me is the way that people look at a situation like that. And I understand that.
And the children in cages.
I would chime in just really quick. Yeah. You've got parents who are breaking the law, bringing their kids here. If you don't want to be separated from your family, don't come to the country illegally. You're having individuals coming from Central or even South America risking their lives and their children's lives.
Because their lives are at risk at home.
And they can go to an embassy and be safe there. Absolutely.
There's also
in the country of Mexico.
You can do it. It is legal here to go to a port of entry and seek asylum. It was President Trump that started the zero tolerance. So you used to be able to stay together. You couldn't under the zero tolerance.
The zero now what they're saying is zero tolerance means the minute you got here, boom, the separation. The separation has gone on before that because the federal law is after 20 days in custody. So if a parent's brought in, and this is where this is where the media and so many people get wrong. We love to talk zero tolerance. It's only Trump. Yeah, the zero tolerance started with Trump. As far as immediacy, but this has gone on before. And how did that go on before? Because sometimes they would take people into custody. The custody would be past 20 days. After 20 days, the kids and the parents can't stay together. That's the law. So they had to separate the children. Oh, I didn't know that. No, because you're not getting always the entire story. And that's the problem today with we make snap judgments on headlines and emotion. Very, very few of us actually go and dig deep and say, well, hold on a second. And you know what and this is a perfect example of the way our media has become. You go online. So you're online. And you ever get those weird pictures, and it's all clickbait? That's what headlines have become, clickbait. The problem is people, when you see the guy with no teeth making a funny face and it's for a mortgage thing, whatever, it is what it is, right? You don't really care. It doesn't affect you. You may look for a picture and the laugh and you move on. The problem is we see a headline, rather than click in and actually read the thing, we just go, oh, the headline, and then we take that as the gospel when it's not. It's meant to draw you in. But when you listen to these Trump voters, they're divided. And like I said, there is no middle ground with this guy. Very few people can be independent and objective enough to go, look, I don't like any of the crap that he says and does, but I can understand some of his policies, and I think he's moving in a direction, at least with his policies or the things he's trying to do, that would be a benefit to the country. No, it's 90% of it is I hate him as a human being. So no matter what he does, I can't stand him as a human being. Very few people can separate the two.
This is the problem with what the president is doing. He's able to divide us on these issues where we're now fighting amongst ourselves. You look at Charlottesville, you look at the separation of the families on the border, you just look at the tweeting. I've never seen an individual who is so good at connecting with sort of average people that has no ability to really communicate or control the way he communicates.
Well, look, there are some of that, and these are all Trump voters. Now, some of them aren't Trump voters that are happy with the way Trump has gone, as you can hear. Some of them regret the entire situation of voting for Trump. But I will agree in this. There are times when I think what people are looking for, and even people I know who really support Trump, my mom's one of them, where she just says, sometimes it's like he'll denounce something that somebody does or say, and he just doesn't go as far as he possibly could. Or what he likes to do is, instead of saying this is awful, this is horrible, this is unacceptable in our country, we cannot have this, he'll say, yeah, this is awful, but let me tell you about how bad other things were. And you're just like, you missed the opportunity to do some stuff.
I think it's disingenuous to say that President Trump is wholly responsible for the bifurcation that we see across party lines right now.
But is he helping it?
I don't think that necessarily some of the things that he says could be said in a more polished manner.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. And again, you've got all kinds of voters. You have white voters, you have women voters, you have Hispanic voters, you have black voters. But you know what they all were? They were all Trump voters. And the some of them who have regretted it, they're so apologetic in it, and yeah, you know what? This part right here, you listen to this, and you can hear the frustration in her voice, but then you also hear the way, and this is what I think a lot of people are missing, especially people on the left. If you catch more flies with honey, meaning you can't go out and say, you guys are morons, you're idiots, you're stupid, you're absolutely the worst human beings on earth, you're racist, pigs, absolutely awful. Oh, by the way, vote for me. Doesn't work that way. It doesn't.
You know, we have a lot of, really, I mean, I have to be crass about it, idiots who voted for him, including myself at one time.
I take great offense. I'm not an idiot. It's a wise decision that people voted. It was a wise decision for Michiganders, for Wisconsinites, for Pennsylvanians, for working Americans who were tired of their jobs being taken away, shipped overseas, or taken by illegals.
You know what I was most impressed with? Michiganders. There. Look, both sides of the aisle in their voting base have idiots. But you can hear the passion there. And it's funny when you listen to her, you're like, she feels ashamed. She feels ashamed. Ooh, she feels ashamed.
I want to apologize to the nation for my vote for him. It was the wrong thing to do. It was the biggest mistake I ever made. Like I said, he is a racist.
Why do you believe he's racist?
Why do I believe he's racist? Look what happened in Puerto Rico. He said, oh, they want to just cry and, you know, they needed help. Just because they're not white-skinned, he doesn't want to go down there and help them out.
Really? A lot of issues in Puerto Rico. I think the response should have been better. I was talking to Luis, who fills in for producer Phil every once in a while, who was just in Puerto Rico, and he's from Puerto Rico. It's a disaster still there. It is literally a massive disaster, and the government should have done better. Both our government and the local officials on the ground should have done better. But it's almost like it's out of sight, out of mind. But to lay the blame completely at Trump because they're brown-skinned, I think is a reach. But when you have Charlottesville and when you have a lot of situations along that line, people are easily able to connect the dot in their mind that they're already looking to connect in a situation like that. But Trump evokes emotion, and the partisan divide has never been so visible. It may have been there in an undertone in situations, but the visibility of it now is great. And like I said, there is very little gray. My son did his 8-year-old checkup today, and one of the things that they were talking about as they go through all this is at his age in development, kids his age see black and white only in life. And I'm not talking about skin color. I'm talking about, well, it's this or it's that. When the reality is a lot of the world is gray. With Trump, it's the black and white only, if you will. That's how people see it now. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love it when you do. Chad Benson Show.
You call it ridiculous. We call it reality with a twist. Say what?
Say what?
Researchers in England, Sweden, and Denmark put 2,000 overweight people on low-calorie diets for 8 weeks. At the end of the 2 months, they determined that both men and women had lost about 11% of their body weight. But the men had more health benefits, a greater change in fat mass, lower blood pressure, and better blood sugar numbers. The reason? Men lose weight around their bellies first. And belly fat is bad fat because it wraps itself around your vital organs. The women lost their weight around their hips and thighs, which might have made them go down a pant size, but actually has fewer health benefits.
The badonkadonk guys say, what? So we're losing the weight around the belly, right? Isn't that great? Like, that's where it is. We're losing weight around the belly. Guys, we got to win here. I'm sure somebody's going to complain about this, say this is not a fair study. It's not fair. It's not equality. It's nature. I'm sorry. Nature sometimes will mess you up. But, yes, it's vitally important to lose that weight. But it's the midriff. Well, they always say it's the midriff. If you carry that weight around, the health that it can damage in your body is huge, especially when it comes to your heart. But now when they look at all of this, guys, we lose it right around there. That's why I always say, God, you look good. You drop 15 or 20 pounds, and a woman drops 15 or 20 pounds. You look at them and say, yeah, you've lost a little bit of weight. You look over here, you're like, wow, you look like you've lost a lot of weight. Why is that? Because it's around your midriff. And guys, we lose it around our midriff faster. So that's a win for us. Say, what? Chad, that's not very nice. You shouldn't say that. I'm throwing it out there.
We've seen an uptick in shark attacks over the last 10 years, and scientists say that climate change could be driving the surge. As one researcher from FAU told us, as ocean temperatures keep rising and sharks distribute themselves to higher and higher latitudes, you're going to see encounters in places where you seldom had them before.
Now, other researchers say, look, there's a lot of reasons why we're seeing sharks in certain areas. Places like the Panhandle, you've had sharks there forever and a day, particularly the bull shark. They're a far more aggressive shark. They've always attacked. On the West Coast down through into Mexico, you're seeing more and more great white sharks. Why is that? Because for years they were hunted, and then they became a protected species. But the years they were hunted, there was very few of them, and what you had was a massive growth in the pinnipeds, the seals, the sea lions, the walrus, all of these things. And now what you're seeing is plenty of sharks knowing now that they're essentially have this smorgasbord of food. Plus they look at El Niños and the changing temperatures there. There's a lot of reasons why this may happen, but they are everywhere. Just know that. Wherever you go, there's that potential. Nature may mess you up. Case in point, Egypt. What? Red Sea. What? A Czech tourist with his family was attacked and killed at a popular resort town. He finally washed up on shore. It was awful. Great white shark. But it's the Red Sea. You wouldn't think about things like that. It's crazy. But you go into nature. Chances are you may have an encounter with nature. And more often than not, that encounter is an amazing encounter where nothing happens and you don't get hurt and they don't get hurt and it's great and you take a picture and you think, oh my God, I made a memory. But every once in a while, nature will rear its ugly head and mess you up. Just letting you know that. Say what? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. You can text the program. You can go and get yourself the podcast of thine program. It's simple and easy to do. You can go to TuneIn Radio app or wherever good podcasts are made available. Or you can also go to ChadBensonShow.com and grab it there as well. Like us on the old Facebook. We're getting you over the hump because that's what we do, kids. 'Tis the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
We have now given him an answer. He obviously he should take a few days to consider it. But we should get this resolved. If there's going to be an interview, let's have it. If there's not going to be an interview, then let him write his report.
Rudy Giuliani, the interview. Will there be an interview? Won't there be an interview? Will it happen? Won't it happen? He's given them an answer. What is that answer? Well, yeah, Trump wants to go and talk, right? And his team is like, first of all, stop tweeting. Let's stop talking about it. Stop mentioning it. Stop doing anything when it comes to this in public. You want to talk to us about it? You want to talk to your aides about it? You want to talk to other people? Fine. Do it behind closed doors. Stop doing it in public. That's the first thing. And no, we don't think you should have an interview. We don't think you should talk to him. Let it lie.
Honestly, he's got all the information that he needs. The interview will provide nothing in addition to what he already has. So he can write his report. And we've been willing to profit. In other words, we've been willing to say, this is the answer he will give. And we'll be stuck with it.
Yeah. Now, there's two things about this that people are worried about because we're heading into what? Midterms. And a lot of people think it was going to be done in August and it was going to be done in July and it was going to be done in June. And I've said, don't be surprised if we could be here later on in the year, early into the new year, before this thing wraps itself up.
It's about time that it ends. I also think, and I hope the special counsel is as sensitive to it as we are, we do not want to run into the November elections. So you back up from that. This should be over with by September 1st.
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't. Mueller is going to do what Mueller does, right? You got the Manafort trial going on. It's happening. It's just going on. It's doing its thing. He's doing his thing. We've talked about it ad nauseum. Let it go. But if I am his counsel, don't let him speak. Because at this point in time, we've talked about collusion. The reality is it would have leaked out by now. That hasn't come out. So is there something else that they can catch him on? And that right there is the thing that his counsel should be worried about.
You start to think that the only reason they want this explanation is so that they can come up with some kind of a perjury thing. Because Comey has said the opposite of this.
Yeah, so I mean, and what's called a perjury trap is something that we've talked about often.
Yeah. Jay Sekulow and Rudy Giuliani there talking about it, which is essentially we know what everybody said, and all we're looking for is something not to line up with that, and then we got you, ha-ha, you lied about this. So the best thing at that point in time is not saying anything, so they can't catch you in a lie. Let people think what they're going to think, but they're already thinking that. People on the right think you've done nothing wrong. People on the left think that the Russians handed you this, and that's the only reason that you're in this situation as president of the United States is because of the Russians. None of that's going to change. Even if you had that interview, Mueller comes out and says, look, we have done a detailed investigation. We have, and by the way, watch the left turn on Mueller if he comes out and says this. We've done this detailed investigation. We have hunted high and low. We have turned over every stone that we could find. We've looked under every rock, behind every door, under every bed. We've interviewed as many people as possible. And we find no collusion, and that Trump himself and the campaign has done nothing wrong. Much like the right cheered for Comey and the left goes, when the whole thing happened when he came out and said, we're going to reopen this. The same thing here will happen. The left will go after Mueller if that is indeed what happens. And what happens? Well, we're going to find that out. Is it going to be sooner rather than later? That's up to Mueller. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Last night, elections across the country, primaries. One of the things that took place, obviously, was the big thing in Ohio, a place where Trump won handily. It is a dogfight there. That is already giving people on the left reason to smile, and people on the right reason maybe potentially to worry when it comes to this congressional seat, because the fact is Trump did win it handily. And is this the first real message that's being sent that there could be trouble come November?
We expect a close race, but at the end of the day, to have it be close ultimately is a big sign of momentum going into November.
And that's what people are looking for. Is it November time? That's David Pepper. He's the chair of the Ohio Democratic Party. And is this just one of those things that happened? Is there something bigger at play here? I don't know, right? Because it's weird, too. And the way this race is essentially is this race is won. Whoever wins this, it's too close to call. The Democrat, O'Connor, and Balderson, the Republican, it's too close to call. And because it's too close to call, both are claiming victories. There's going to have to be a recount. But you've got 4 months before they have to run against each other again. So you're going to go there. You're going to have limited time in D.C. Then you're going to turn around and have to run for that seat again. And we'll see, right? It should be potentially safe for the Republicans. But when you look at the margin of victory of what Trump's done in some of these areas and how it's shrunk and or it's gone the other direction, some of these primaries and things like that, I think there should be a worry, not just because of Trump in himself. And, we've talked about it. He is divisive at times. People, their reaction is either love or hate. Very few people are in the middle who can, look and say, I can, I look at what you can do and I can give you props. And at the same time, I can also criticize you for some of the things you do. It's the left resist and hate. The right defends and attacks. That's what Trump is. And he is on this ballot, whether people want to believe it or not. And the reason is because of the resistance that's taking place by the left. And more so than maybe any other president is he on the ballot, right? I think we saw with Obama the same thing. He was on the ballot in his midterms. And we are a nation that likes to check power. The voters like to check power. We look up and say, whoa, you have too much power. So we're going to check you just a little bit. We're going to check you because we don't know if you deserve that much power, right? And that has been true from, you go back in time and you look and have seen what's taken place in midterms. When you have this kind of power, you get checked. And then you add into that the emotion of Trump, meaning the fervent base that's behind him and the disdain that's against him and the polarization of him. It is interesting. And as we head into this, I don't know, like I said, with the way the economy is going, we still vote with our pocketbooks. And if this thing is done and dusted, the Russia investigation, and there's nothing there, is that going to sway some of those independents who November may go in there, you know what? I don't want to broke. It's not broken, and I don't want to take a chance of breaking it. So status quo is what we're going to do.
The closeness of this race signals real troubles for Republicans. This is a district that is about as solidly Republican as they come. President Trump won it by 11 points in 2016. The Republican incumbent last time around actually won by more than 35 points. So the fact that this is a virtual tie is a big sign of difficulty ahead for Republicans.
It could be. It could very well be. And my question to you out there, people out there that are solidly conservative, what happens if, and I'm not saying it's going to happen because we don't know what's going to happen, because between now, August, and November, it's a lifetime in politics. We could see the coming to an end of a Mueller investigation that, for all intents and purposes, really, catches a bunch of ancillary characters in bit players that really had nothing other than, their association with Trump made them get investigated because they were on nobody else's radar, are the only ones to go down. That he gets a second appointee onto the court, that the economy remains strong. Those things play in mightily. But what happens if November rolls around and the economy slowed a little bit? The fight is still on with his, the Russia investigation. All of a sudden, it's thrown over, and out of nowhere, the blue's been coming, but it really on that, because they've got a lot of seats to defend as well. That's the big thing that people forget to talk about, is they've got a ton of seats to defend. But what if they pull off an upset in a way that we haven't seen? And all of a sudden, red's gone to blue, and now he's staring at 2 years of investigation, intense scrutiny, gridlock, fighting, and possible impeachment. What happens then? If you think that the giant gap between us is big now, whoa. So it will be interesting. And Trump is on the ballot. Absolutely, he's on the ballot. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Speaking of the economy, it is good and it is getting better, at least what I see in the foreseeable future. and you want to expand. So you're a small business owner. Chad, what do? I need to hire somebody. ZipRecruiter.com/Benson. Post your job for free. Let me tell you what they do. 100 plus of the web's leading job boards. You post your job, boom, out it goes. Powerful matching technology. Well, what does that mean? Well, first, they scan thousands of resumes. They find people with the right experience. Then they invite them to apply it to your job. So they go and do that. But then you're like, Chad, I got all these resumes, got all this stuff. No. They're going to spotlight the ones that you absolutely should be looking at, the top candidates. So you're not going to miss a great match. In fact, small business owners like you out there and large businesses and mom and pop businesses, they post a job, and within the first 24 hours, 80% of them get a quality candidate through the site. Boom. It's no wonder results like that. ZipRecruiter is the highest rated site in America for hiring. Boom. I said you could post your job for free. I was not kidding. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/Benson. That's ZipRecruiter.com/BENSON. Post your job for free today. ZipRecruiter.com/Benson. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. ChadBenson. You can tweet at us, text the program as well. It is the Chad Benson Show.
Welcome to Chad. No, not the country. The institution. The Chad Benson Show.
President Donald Trump's so-called border wall has been estimated to cost $21.6 billion by the Department of Homeland Security and close to $70 billion by Senate Democrats. But both of those estimates could fall short.
Yeah, because government's building it. It's that government builds stuff, it's more expensive. We know that. Like, even when you're doing, for all intents and purposes, you're doing anything to your house, how many times does it come in under? Very rarely, right? It either comes in right where they said or it goes over. Do you think the wall should be any different? And you could say, well, Trump looks to cut. That's fine and dandy, but between Trump and the actual building of said wall, there are too many things, too many people who are going to have their opportunity to throw business to too many of their cronies and friends and pals and stuff like that. And so what will end up just like the crazy train in California, right? Right, building the crazy train. It's going to cost this. It's going to cost $10 billion. Now we're up to $100 billion. We haven't even laid you sit back and you shake your head because this is what government does. And when you really look at this, to me, I've always looked at government expense like the way I look at the medical industry. It cost $100 billion to build that. It cost $10 billion to actually build it, and $90 million of payoffs, handshakes, and inflated prices to get the thing done.
A report by the Government Accountability Office says the Trump administration had not fully analyzed or disclosed the cost of building a wall. And because there's no comprehensive cost plan, the report says there's, quote, an increased risk that the border wall system program will cost more than projected, take longer than planned, or not fully perform as expected.
Yep, there's a commercial out that's that's funny, and his dad goes in, he's looking at his kid, and he's just telling him stuff. And you know, it's like the birds and the bees. He's all birds and the bees. Get it? And then he's like, and by the way, whatever the contractor says, add 6 months onto it in price. That's government, right? Whatever the government says it's going to do something, add 6 months, add 6 years, add 6 decades, and price. And when you don't put a price on it, meaning you hand somebody a blank check, oh, God, the price is going to be ridiculous. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. So the NFL, which producer Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, we've played one game, but tomorrow night in earnest, there's going to be a ton of preseason games, including your Washington Redskins. Am I correct?
You, sir, are correct, and we're playing the Patriots.
The Patriots, the greatest team in the history of all teams, the Patriots. Well, guess what? Male cheerleaders. Are we ready for male cheerleaders? No. I'm going to say it, right? I'm going to throw it out there. So the men are going to be on the Rams and the Saints, and they're going to be stunt men. You can call them cheerleaders, dancers, whatever it is, stunt people, and they're trying to make it more entertaining. And it's not going to be, they're not going to be pom-poms. They're going to be just like you see in college football. They're going to have girls who are going to be flying and guys catching them in the whole 9 yards. I don't go to the football game to watch cheerleaders. I don't. I mean, I guess college, I understand college. I've never understood the NFL cheerleaders minus the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. I've never understood cheerleaders. Like, nobody tries harder because of the cheerleaders, right? Nobody goes, God, I was going to put in that extra effort, and then I saw the cheerleaders really cheering for us, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to do it. Nobody does. Know your audience. That's all I'm saying. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
You know, we have a lot of, really, I mean, I have to be crass about it, idiots who voted for him, including myself at one time.
I take great offense. I'm not an idiot. It's a wise decision that people voted. It was a wise decision for Michiganders, for Wisconsinites, for Pennsylvanians, for working Americans who were tired of their jobs being taken away, shipped overseas, or taken by illegals.
Oh, interesting. Those are Trump voters fighting with each other because some people are still excited about Trump. And other people are disappointed in Trump and now regret their vote. And as we head into the midterms, this is going to be a big, big thing. Because if the Dems do manage to take back the House and the Senate, it could be 2 years of, it will be 2 years of fighting and nightmares and investigations and all of this for the president. And if I am the left, right? Because both parties to me are just, they're ridiculous. But if I'm the left, I'm going out and saying, look, now's your chance at a mulligan. If you're looking at disgruntled voters who were Trump voters, now's your chance to go out and say, look, you don't got to stay with us forever, but you want a mulligan. You want to do the right thing. Now is the chance to do the right thing. Now's your chance to right what some people think is a wrong. They voted for Trump. They're unhappy with it. Now's your chance. Now is the chance. You don't have to stay with us forever. We may disagree on some stuff, but now you've got a chance to essentially right the wrong. What are you going to do? And instead, what they do is like, you're idiots, you're morons, you're stupid, you're racist, you're this, you're that. And how many times have I told you, how many times have you been in an argument and you probably know you're wrong, and you do know you're wrong, but because of the way that people are arguing with you, you dig in deeper. And that's what I see happening all too often with the way that people are approaching disgruntled Trump voters and Republicans who aren't thrilled with Trump, but they're insulting them. And so because of that, they're saying, screw you. Screw you. I would have listened for a second, but because of the way you're treating me, screw you. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me. Love hearing from you. So, people are tweeting in and talking and texting me about the male cheerleaders because the Rams and the Saints are going to have the stunt team, they're calling them, the male cheerleaders. And I just said, look, the NFL to me, minus the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, can we just be honest? Does anybody care? Because unless you're sitting in front of them, Like, I see the NBA. Okay, it's okay, because it's 16,000 people, 18,000 people in an arena, good play, good, sight line, the whole 9 yards. You don't have it in baseball, right? I mean, you have the guy that goes around the stadium and asks people questions. Hey, who do you did this in 1932? And they have the little things that are fun. It's a family thing. But they don't have it there. In hockey, they have the ice girls that, if you go to a hockey game, they'll have some girls in pretty outfits come and skate around and clean up the ice that's built up around the rink. But when it comes to, the cheerleading thing is just, I don't know. And basketball, maybe I get it. Maybe. But even then, I don't. It's you don't have any other sport. You know what I would like to see? Now, maybe we can get on this, producer Phil. I think we should have cheerleading in golf. That would be interesting. Golf needs to have, right? Wouldn't that be hilarious? Golf needs to have a little more oomph, right? Because they're still riding Tiger's coattails. Golf could use a little something like that. A little cheerleading in the middle of something. Give me a T. Give me an I. Give me a G. Give me an E. Give me an R. Tiger, what? And then he hits the ball.
Maybe
no, Tiger, don't
walk-up
sleep.
music.
That would be, again, another thing. The PGA is so stuffy. That's the problem. It's too many rules, too much stuffiness. Walk-up music would be great. If you don't know what walk-up music is in baseball, you pick your own walk-up music. So when you go to hit, you can have whatever, if you like AC/DC, and it's great. That would be, I like that. And cheerleaders, like every hole, like it lands there, or if it's in the water, you can do it next time. What? That would be fun. We're missing out on some of that. I'm trying to incorporate here all of these things. But I think you need to know your audience. Like, you need to know your audience. And I've been to a few football games, which, by the way, I just find to be boring as hell. They are. When you go to the game, it's boring. Because, think about this. Football, there's only 7 minutes of actual play time in a football game. That's crazy. So you only have 7 minutes of actual play time. You're there for 3.5, 4 hours. When you think about it, that's nuts. Because, they play 4, 5, 8, 10, 12 seconds. They smash into each other. They get up. They get back in the huddle. And it's all that stuff. So, I'm trying to make things a little bit more fun for the folks. And I've never went to a game, and I was telling producer Phil, last year I took Jack to his first football game. We went to San Diego State, and they played Boise State, and it was fun. But Jack's like, I enjoyed the warm-ups more because it was fun because they were doing stuff. And he's like, Dad, how many cheerleaders are out there? That was the one thing. College can get away with cheerleaders, but because college isn't like the NFL, you can have as many you can have a ton of players, right? So you get a ton of players in college. It's not like the NFL where you have 53 and only a certain amount take 48 dress. College, you can have like 100 scholarships or something. So you have all of these kids that are out there. There's still more cheerleaders and yell team and stunt team and cheer team and this than actual players. But college, I'm okay with cheerleaders. I don't think you need it in the NFL. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Curious about what is going to be as we look into the midterms. So we look at the midterms, not too far away. We ask ourselves the question, what is going to be the issue heading into it? And immigration still right now, according to a Gallup poll, sits atop all of this. And the fight, because Trump, as people say, Trump, what Trump has done when it comes to this is what president should have done, which is try to address the issue. He's gone about it, and I think he's missed the mark when it comes to some of the things like the no tolerance policy and stuff, and the way that things have gone where it's not really helped him. I think and anybody who takes on some of these big issues, you've got to have the political stomach and to withstand what's coming. But the debate is there. You got sanctuary states, you got sanctuary cities, you got all of this stuff. What can ICE do? What can ICE do? How is ICE being used? All of those things. And I think it's going to be a huge issue heading into the midterms. And Governor Cuomo is, for all intents and purposes, he's at war with ICE.
What has happened is the president has politicized ICE. ICE, as a police force, their intent, their purpose, their founding mission was right, which was to fight terrorism, right? We're New York State, 9/11. We want a police force that fights terrorism. We don't want what we have in ICE, which is a politicized police force, which is doing the president's political bidding.
Well, first, the politics of immigration is what politicians like. They don't like solutions to the problems. They like the politics of the immigration, because that's where the money's at. That's how you raise money. That's where the sound bites are at. They don't want to fix, because like anything else, when you have a fix and the problem goes away, then you may be needed less, but you're also taking essentially food away from yourself. So I can't blame that. Now, the way he's using ICE, people are blaming, but the fact is it's only become an issue because Trump has said, wait a minute here. Look at what sanctuary cities and states are doing. And the way that they're telling ICE, yeah, we don't even want you dealing with the bad people here. We're going to make it a situation where we're going to protect these people at all cost, even if it goes against the wishes of the citizens of the states and of Americans. And that has frustrated a lot of people. That's not his doing, Governor.
We don't want him politicizing ICE. We don't want him politicizing the FBI. We don't want him politicizing the U.S. Marshals. And that's what has to be abolished. We do need a police force, obviously, that fights terrorism, but that's not what this police force is doing under this president, because he has politicized it.
Well, it's immigration and custom enforcement. It's not terrorist customs enforcement. And I've said all along, when you decide that you're going to fight with ICE and you're going to tell them there are things they can't do, meaning you can't come fish here, which is where you should be fishing because it's the jails and it's the big bad people, and this is where you should be going and doing your things, and we're going to make a stand here with these people, then what you're going to do is ICE is going to decide that we're going to go fishing elsewhere. And the little lady down the street who's been here for 15 years, whose kid's been here since they were 1 or 2, who is cleaning your houses and her husband's mowing your lawns and they've not done anything, well, they're going to go fish in there. And then it becomes politicized. But it's only become politicized because San Francisco's, California's, New York's, Chicago's has decided to make this a political situation by saying, we don't care that you're from another country. We don't care that you've come here illegally. We don't care about any of those things. We will protect you at all cost from this big bad group of people. And when I talked to Border Patrol agents and ICE agents during the Obama administration, their frustration was they were being told, they were basically handing down edicts that you essentially, your hands literally are tied. And now that they're out doing stuff, we can argue all day of whether or not they should be doing this or they should be doing that. But the fact is if you talk to any of them, they want to catch the bad people. They're not worried about the lady down the street who's cleaning your house. We're not worried about the guy down the street that's mowing your lawn or putting on your. They're worried about the bad people. That's what it was. But you're telling them, many of them, who you don't think he politicizes it all day long? They're telling him, no, you can't. This is not where you are going to be doing business.
We don't want him doing it to ICE or any federal police force. You're supposed to keep your politics away from law enforcement. And that's the violation of this president. I will do nothing cooperatively with ICE. I have sent them letters asking for an investigation. I have said if they do any criminal acts, which a police force can do, we will take criminal action against ICE.
And you're not politicizing it, please. Pull the other one, sir. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. And that, to me, is the perfect example of the politicization of something. Blaming Trump for something. I don't like the way he uses it. You should never do that. You can look back and look at all of the past presidents and the way that they've used certain parts. IRS, hello. Certain situations that have happened. Come on now. Again, it's immigration custom enforcement. It's not terrorist custom enforcement. So what you're telling me is ICE in New York or ICE around the country should only be fighting terrorists. Because that's the feeling I got there. They shouldn't be taking people off the streets who are law-abiding non-citizens, non-residents here, just happen to wander across the border, didn't really know where they are, wonderful human. I mean, that's the ridiculousness of it. I can get mad at Trump at the way he's handled a lot of things when it's come to immigration, and I think he's laid an egg on a few of them. But when you say he's politicized all of this, whoa, slow your roll there. But that's what people do. They don't want the spotlight back on them. And many times when you talk to people, even left-leaning people, when you talk about illegal immigration and the protection and the way that they want to go about doing this, you get a lot of them to say, well, you know what? I don't think we should be taking people off the streets, just, raiding places. But come on now. At some point in time, you got to figure this thing out. We can't have this anymore. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. My Pillow. Amazing. I love it. Got my travel pillow with me. I've been traveling and I sleep so well. And so will you. 100% machine washable and dryable, made in the US of A, kids, backed by a 10-year warranty. Here's the thing. I didn't sleep well as a kid and wasn't too great as an adult. I got My Pillow. Nothing else changed. I'm sleeping 5, 6, 7 hours a night like I've never slept before, and I'm sleeping. I'm not in bed for 8 hours, but awake for 6 of them. I'm out like a light, and when I wake up, I feel refreshed. I feel energized. I feel great. So will you. Try it now. Guess what you get? My Pillow's 4-pack. You're going to get 50% off 2 premium pillows, 2 go-anywhere pillows. That's right. 4 pillows, 50% off. Call 800-983-4975. Go to mypillow.com. Use the promo code Benson, BENSON. You're going to get an amazing night's sleep. It's the most comfortable pillow ever. You will feel the difference in your life. Call 800-983-4975 or visit mypillow.com. Use promo code Benson. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. We got your useless fact of the day. Straight ahead, Chad Benson Show.
Take a fake news break. Check out the really important news of the day at our website, ChadBensonShow.com. Once there, click on Chad's free podcast and get real. The Chad Benson Show, where truth and the American way live. Print free.
We've seen an uptick in shark attacks over the last 10 years, and scientists say that climate change could be driving the surge. As one researcher from FAU told us, as ocean temperatures keep rising and sharks distribute themselves to higher and higher latitudes, you're going to see encounters in places where you seldom had them before.
And then you watch other shows or you read other things, say that might not be true, that it's cyclical, El Nino, a lot of things have to do with that. Also, one of the things, and when you're seeing places like Florida, Florida's always been, and it's also the species of shark, right? California and into Mexico, you've got pinnipeds, you've got the seals and the sea lions and all this stuff. Their populations have expanded because of all the hunting for years that went on against their natural predator, which is the great white sharks and some of those big sharks. Well, now they're coming back, and there's plenty of them, and their food source is massive. Bull sharks, a species that is absolutely the worst, attacks all the time when it has a chance, doesn't care what it eats, plentiful in throughout the Florida panhandle and whatnot. So I don't know if I buy into all of that. And, it happens. Again, how many people go in the water and how many people actually get bit? Very few. Very, very, very few. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Here is your useless fact of the day. And this is going to stick in your brain. How many of you like German chocolate cake? Plenty. How many think it actually comes from Germany? Most. Actually, in 1852, an American baker named Samuel German invented the cake. That's right. Hence the reason we call it German chocolate cake. Has nothing to do with Germany. Have yourself a wonderful rest of your hump day and happy International Cats Day. Meow. Night, night, Jack.
This is The Chad Benson Show.